JC from NSYNC started a girl group that didn't go anywhere, but I was in it.
Live from the Willie Nelson and Friends Museum Showcase in Nashville, Tennessee. It's Music is Funny. Musicians talking to comedians about music and comedy. With your hosts, Raylan Nelson and Jonathan Bright.
I'm still smoking, I'm so high, I keep toking, I'm drunk, but I'm still drinking too.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Music is Funny. I'm Raylan Nelson.
And I'm Jonathan Bright from the Raylan Nelson Band.
Hey, the Raylan Nelson Band has shows coming up in June. Oh, wait, we're in June now. June 26th, we play South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. July 10th, we play Plainville, Georgia. And July 23rd, Panama City Beach. And July 24th, Santa Rosa Beach. So come see us live.
Come see us. All right, this week we got another great comedian. I think you fangirled a little bit on her at the beginning. It was a little excessive.
Maybe throughout even, I did fangirl out.
But yeah, she got her start. She sort of came up through theater, like acting, singer, dancer.
Actress, yes. And she was a member of JioSaavn's teenage pop group that he started here.
Yes, made a record with I think it was an all-female pop group.
Like 13 of them or something.
Yeah, it was crazy. Hilarious story. She wrote, it started as a one-man or one-woman show.
Yeah.
That morphed into a two-woman show that ran off Broadway for a long time. Very successful.
Yeah, called Two Blondes, TOO. And she works on Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is a really big deal.
That was amazing, too. Yeah, and lately she's been doing a bunch of shows with Christina P.
Yeah, that's where I saw her here in Nashville at Zanys. So you should check out her set because I love her so much. Without further ado, Chase O'Donnell. Chase, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, so good to see you.
Yay, so good to see you.
I'm Raylan, and this is my guitar player, JB.
Hello, I've been listening to your podcast, so I know.
Oh, okay, good. And I saw you when you opened for Christina P here just a couple of months ago. And I loved you so much. I came back and told him all the jokes that I loved that you said. And I won't say them on here because I don't want to ruin your show. But I think you're phenomenal and brilliant. And I'm so happy that you said yes to be on our podcast. Thank you.
I'm so happy you asked me. Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
So I wanted to ask you, what do you remember the first music that you remember loving as a kid?
Spice Girls was my first love. That was my first concert when I was like 5, I think.
Oh my gosh.
That's a great one, actually, for a 5-year-old.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was...
Him the theater, all that stuff going on.
I was Baby Spice for Halloween. Like, I was a big Spice Girl fan. And then it just kind of transitioned to like Britney Spears and NSYNC and all those bop hits.
Yep. That was kind of me too. I mean, when I was little, my mom made me listen to, she kind of kept me pretty sheltered. So it was just gospel music and Christian pop and old country, my grandpa's music and old country greats. But then when I got to be preteen, it was Spice Girls, Britney Spears. My first CD I bought was NSYNC.
I love it.
So I'm right there with you.
I actually have a fun fact.
Okay.
Because I heard you with Ari talking about NSYNC, and I was JC from NSYNC started a girl group that didn't go anywhere, but I was in it.
No way.
So that's my little fun fact that I love to carry in my pocket.
What was the group called?
What was the group called?
It was called Girl Radical.
Girl.
And they were trying to make it like, those K-pop bands with like 12 plus members. Mm-hmm. They were trying to do that in America because that hasn't been done here. And my dance teacher was the choreographer / person like involved in getting the group together. So I was like, yeah, I'll do it. This is a dream come true working with JC. So that's how I got involved with it. But it was a fun chapter.
Did you record anything? Was there any recorded output?
Oh yeah.
What was that? What was it like? How do you get 12 people in the studio or whatever? How was that whole experience?
We all went in one at a time. We actually never were in a recording booth, all 12 of us. So it was very just manufactured. It was like you went in one at a time and then they put it all together. And
did you have like single lines to sing, or did you guys just all sing everything and they just start chopping it up and deciding which person they wanted to sing which part?
Yeah, well, see, my part in the band was more of like dancer. So
okay.
I was definitely the like backup vocals. I didn't have any solos.
Okay.
So I would come in and just do the little harmonies that you had to do.
Yeah. When did you start playing guitar? Because you play guitar. Am I allowed to say that? You play guitar in your set.
My dad is an amazing guitarist. So he's always played guitar my whole life growing up. So when I was like 15, he taught me. But I truly, like, if my dad hears me playing guitar at a show, he's like, oh God, like, you've got to tell people you're not a guitarist, because I really just can play my few chords, and I haven't gotten any better since I was 15. So he likes it if I say I'm not a guitarist, because for any guitarist in the crowd, they'd know I'm not really. Here in Nashville, there's so many amazing guitar players, you know? So JB told me that I couldn't say I was a guitar player. You said I could say that I play guitar.
Yeah, that's the difference.
There's a difference. Okay, I play guitar.
Yeah.
Yes, guitarists know if you're good or not. Yeah. And my dad, there was one show I did that he came to and my guitar was out of tune, and I didn't acknowledge it. I just kept going. And he just, after the show, was like, oh my God, you have to tell people that this isn't good. Anyway.
So the question is, when you were real young, was music the first love and then you found comedy later? Or did you always want to play? I mean, did you want to be an actress? At that age?
You're kind of all these things. You're a dancer. You play guitar. You're a stand-up comedian. A really funny stand-up comedian, and you are an actress too, like
a writer. So at what order and how did that all come about?
Where are all these hats coming from? What was the first one?
Let's see. Well, thank you, first of all. Musical theater was the first one. Okay. I think, I grew up dancing. So my mom was my dance teacher. I'd been dancing since I was ballet, and then jazz, tap, point, hip hop, lyrical, like everything.
All of it.
Did dance competitions. That was my upbringing.
Okay.
So dance was my first love. And then I would always incorporate comedy into the dances I would do. So if I had a solo, all I would do is try to make people laugh. So that's where like comedy, I guess, came into it. Mm-hmm. And then I saw the classic movie High School Musical, which I'm sure we've all seen. And I was like, that is what I want to do. So I started taking singing lessons and acting classes, but it was all kind of just to be on Disney Channel.
Yeah.
And
The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody.
Yeah. Oh my God. The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. That was like, so I just wanted to be on Disney Channel.
Fun fact is I have twin boys. They turned 14 this week. Like this week, one of their voice dropped. It's really weird, but
oh my God.
Yeah. I always thought it was so cool that I had twins because I loved Zach and Cody, The Sweet Life of Zach. And I know you like them too, because I've heard you talk about it on podcasts before. And my daughter, I have a daughter too, and she decided she wanted to be a comedian actress because of her love of Good Luck Charlie, that Disney Channel.
And that one came just a little after me.
Yeah.
But I am aware of that show.
And she was like, I want to be on that show.
That's what it was for me. I was like, I'm going to be Zach's love interest. Let me get into acting classes. And then I ended up going to a performing arts high school, and I was a musical theater major, quote unquote, in high school.
Yeah.
And then went to college for theater. So theater was really where it was at. And then post college, I was doing off Broadway and writing comedy shows. And I found that the auditioning for stuff was just terrible, all the rejection.
Yeah.
So doing comedy was just my way of getting up and performing without a casting director allowing me to or not. Like I could just do it. And so that's why stand-up started, because I just wanted to be able to perform without having like a gatekeeper.
So did the stand-up thing happen after or before? I know the Two Blondes Broadway and off-Broadway thing you had. Was that a precursor to you doing stand-up, or were you doing stand-up and then figured out a way to sort of, well, do this bit here, use some of my comedic talents with that? Like which came first?
So what happened was in college, our senior year, we did a one-person show. So I had this one-person show. Right after college, I started stand-up. I was doing that even when I moved to New York. And then I was in another off-Broadway musical that closed pretty quickly. And I was like, okay, what can I do here? And I turned my one-person show into a two-person show, and we made it Two Blondes. So I was doing stand-up throughout the whole time as well.
So when you added the second person, was it a friend? Did you audition? Did you have like stuff written and just audition people to come for that part? Or was it?
No, she's one of my best friends. I had moved to New York and done this show, and we were just like getting coffee, and she was saying that she had this venue that was allowing her to put on a show, but she didn't have a show to put on. And I was like, well, I have a show, but I don't have a venue. And she was like, let's do your show together. And then it turned into, I made it work for two people, and then it expanded from there. It had its own life.
Did that help with the stand-up? Like, I'm sure you got some notoriety out there. I know it got great reviews.
Yeah. It was really cool. I would go back and forth between like, do I even like stand-up? Because with Two Blondes, I got to be a character, and it's so much easier to go on stage and tell jokes, but not be yourself telling jokes. There was something in my psychosis that's like, if they don't like it, it's not that they don't like me. They don't like my character. Whereas with stand-up, they just don't like you. And it's very difficult. So I think it definitely helped, just the like repetition of getting on stage. But there's like a time where I stopped stand-up altogether because it was I think it was just like too much. It hurt me too much when it didn't go well. Whereas with Two Blondes, it was more like, that's your character and it's okay.
Right. Now, do you do shows where it's just you playing songs you've written?
That was more Two Blondes, was all songs pretty much.
Okay.
With stand-up, I haven't done just songs.
Yeah.
But
So you wouldn't book a show and just play songs you've written on guitar. You would do stand-up and do a little bit of guitar.
There's been, as you know, 2020 was a lot of Zoom shows. And I found that playing songs was actually an easier way via Zoom to get people to laugh instead of like, hey guys, da da da. So I found that during the pandemic, I was doing small sets with just songs over Zoom. So I haven't done a full like 30-minute opening set of just songs, but
yeah, which is funny because as our band over the 2020, we just started talking to our fans instead of playing, because we're a rock band. So it was hard to emulate our rock show through Zoom. And so we just started talking.
You did the exact opposite.
You did the opposite.
That's what started this whole thing. Yeah.
That's what started
that sounds organic though, just talking, because I felt the like, hey, you guys, here's material I prepared. Here we go.
That's a difference.
So
it's different,
less genuine than if you guys were just talking to them.
We didn't do any of that. No, we were just
yeah.
talking to each other. You're right. You're right.
So you mentioned that for a while you just bailed on stand-up because it was stinging pretty hard. What made you go, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to go back and I enjoy it, I'm going to go back? Or did you ease your way back in? Was it a light that went off?
That's such a good question. I don't think I've ever really thought about it. When I moved back to LA, I think I just slowly got back into it because I have friends in the comedy, acting, theater world, and they were doing open mics, so I would just go with them. So I think my like dramatic, I'm done with this, was more just like, for now. I'm done with this for now. So I don't think I ever in my heart gave it up. I just like would slow down the process.
Yeah. And I'm always curious. We've talked about it with other comedians. If you're based in Los Angeles, it seems like getting out and being able to tour, so to speak, or just go and play in other rooms. You've got some spots right there, but you are so far away from everything else. Like if you start in New York, or gosh, if you start in Nashville, within 8 or 10 hours, you can hit all the big cities. And I would imagine as a young comic, you could it's way easier to tour places than just in Los Angeles or California.
Yeah, I have actually found that when I've been on the road, I'll meet comics that are based in like Dallas or Nashville, and they're able to drive all around. And I'm like, oh, that's actually super smart. It didn't even cross my mind that I was in a disadvantage in that way. But I do know that, like, because I started in New York and LA as like the two places I really started comedy. There is that like people going, oh, okay, if you can do it in New York, if you can do it in LA, then you can do it other places. And I have found that now that I've been on tour, it is New York and LA are definitely the toughest, meanest crowds. So it was definitely starting in the like, I started really tough, and now it's like, oh, okay, I can do that, so I can do the other places. Yeah,
because out there, it starts with a long plane ride before you ever start your tour. Once you have to go a long way before you're anywhere, unless Texas and beyond.
Yeah.
And these guys, even in New York, but the guys even people that are doing it in New York still seems like they have an advantage of places.
They can like go to all of the 13 colonies. Yeah,
exactly. So I guess what's it like as when you're starting in LA, how did you, like your first open mic, what were the clubs how did you work your way up through there?
There's a website that has a list of all the open mics that are every night available. And I would just pick one and try to go to a different one every night. And there's so many opportunities in LA. I did a road trip. My sister and I did a road trip across the country. And the goal for me was to do a open mic in every state I got to. And it was crazy. In LA, it's like hundreds of opportunities every night. And in other places, it was like maybe one open mic on a Tuesday night at this time once a week. So like there's just so many opportunities in LA to perform, which was nice. So I got to do that. I just picked a random one.
And just keep picking them and keep going to them, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I just kept, it was like I'm really good with a challenge. So I told myself I would do one every night. And I did.
Yeah. And that's how you get good at something, is by doing it over and over and over.
Yeah.
So what comedians did you look up to? Okay. So I asked you what the first music you loved. What's the first comedians that you loved?
Well, besides The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, which we've covered, who are just phenomenal, I would say I love John Mulaney. He's been a huge role model of mine. It's funny because like stand-up comedians, I didn't start following until probably college. So that's when like Amy Schumer was getting big. And I mean, obviously I love Christina P and Tom Segura. But yeah, I would say John Mulaney's
The first
way up
one you
there.
remember. Yeah. Cool. And so when you first got to meet Christina P and Tom, what was it like when you first got to meet these people that you loved?
I get very awkward and nervous. So the first time I saw Tom Segura, I had a whole debate in my head whether or not I should say hi, and I ended up not saying hi. I just stood on the wall, like against the wall, watching him talk, and I was like, "Oh God, I should have said something." But
Where was this?
huh?
Where was
This is the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
Because the Comedy Store, all these big comics they just hang out in the halls. So it's wild. You just see all these famous comedians. And Christina's she's been like a big sister to me, and it feels like she's a sister to me. So we've just connected right from the beginning, and it's good. I know it's a good relationship when I'm not awkward and weird, when I can just be myself.
Yeah.
Because my go-to is being very socially awkward.
I noticed when I meet famous people that when I meet actors and actresses, I get more nervous than when I meet famous musicians.
Really?
I think it's because when they're acting, they're not them. So you don't, it's so mysterious who they are. You just fall in love with their character. But as a musician, you think that they're being themselves.
Yeah, you like know them.
Yeah, comedians, I feel like I know you because I've seen you talk, and I feel like you're being genuine when you're doing your thing. Mm-hmm. So when they're acting, you just fall in love with their character. So,
that's a really good point.
Yeah, but I get really nervous around actors and actresses versus
musicians.
Yeah,
but also I imagine you grew up around a lot of musicians.
Yeah. There's that too. Yeah,
so you got used to meeting.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You're a little younger than me, but what do you remember hearing about Willie? Do you even know who my grandpa is? Have you ever heard of him?
Of course. I also I don't know where I watched it, but there's something on him with his new weed line, but I can't remember if it was like Jimmy Kimmel or something. I've watched the interview several times in the past, so I know he's big with weed. Yeah. And he's always been a name that I've just grown up with. Everyone knows him. It's amazing that he's your grandfather.
Yeah, he's the coolest.
So when you kind of going back, when you were talking about leaving Two Blondes and then going back to stand-up, did you have a lot of material written, or was this, did you know the process of writing material like you knew, like acting, writing scripts, that kind of thing? Or were you watching comedians trying to kind of figure out the formula from them? How did you build your material?
I was in New York. I was part of this improv group called Face Off, and they branched off and started a stand-up show. And I was like a guinea pig with the creator of the show, William. He's amazing. And because I was like his first student, if you will, like he wanted to try out like doing stand-up classes into a stand-up show. I kind of had him as like a one-on-one coach the whole time I was in New York. So even during Two Blondes, and he would put on a monthly stand-up show. And I didn't know at that time, I was still so new, that you could do the same material for every show. You could just keep working on it. Mm-hmm. I thought every show I had to have a new 5 minutes. Oh. So I got so much material written in this few years I was in New York, because every month I was writing a new 5 minutes. And a lot of times it didn't go well, but I took a lot of my material I use now is from taking the best of those 5 minute bits, right, and combining it together. So I got really lucky that I was just like put into a monthly stand-up show where I truly thought I had to have a new 5 minutes every month. So
Tricked yourself.
and it wasn't until one show I bombed. Like, it was really bad. I bombed. And one of the comedians who was like a regular on the show too came up to me and was like, you know, you don't have to do new material every show. You can work on your old stuff. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's so great. So it took me bombing and a comedian feeling bad for me to tell me that I don't have to do new stuff.
But talking about working out your comic muscle, though, man, having to come up with brand new 5 minutes every month, just starting out.
Yeah. So I got good at like the night before writing a 5 minute set because I put things off. So it's definitely
I do my best work cramming too. Yeah.
And now it's interesting. I go through phases where I'll like write a lot, and I haven't yet even come up with a daily ritual or like how I actually write. It comes in spurts. So I still need to figure out how I'm actually gonna, moving forward, write tons and tons of material. But that time in New York was really special and helped me a ton.
Yeah, that's always the rub. It's kind of like writing songs. Like for me, stuff like that, artistic stuff kind of comes in bunches. But people tell you that, you know, you need to sit down with pen and paper every day and put in the work
and get it out.
I don't do that.
Maybe you do.
Yeah.
Maybe it just comes.
I'm better when it just comes to me. I think the songs are better if you just let the natural.
Well, I think also the point is that you just shouldn't be lazy and not work. But I don't know. It's hard to just sit down. And I guess that's the point. You just sit down. And if you can't come up with anything that day, maybe the next day, but just forcing out something creatively
working the muscle.
You know,
well, it's so funny because the hardest part is getting myself to sit down. Once I'm writing, something always tends to come, like some idea, but getting myself to actually sit down and write, I don't know about you guys, but that's what's so hard, is just like the workup in my head, like, oh, I've got to do this. Okay, I've got to sit down. And then it's like, once you actually go on your run, fine, I'm on the run, I'll keep running.
Yeah.
It's the build up to writing. Yeah.
Those are the times when the house always gets cleaned, or all the chores you have.
Yeah. Everything
really need
gets
to vacuum,
done. Everything gets done except the writing.
Like, damn it, I guess I got nothing but writing left. Might as well go. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you find that when that you get ideas when you're in the shower or driving around? I find that when I'm doing something else, that's kind of taking care of like I don't know, what do we call it? Like the first part of your brain and then the other part of the brain.
Yeah. I definitely, a lot of times I'll go on a hike for the purpose of writing. 'Cause when I'm like walking, ideas come.
Yeah.
I heard somebody talking about that, like somebody way smarter than me, but how with the evolution of cell phones or whatever, that boredom is where creativity comes, and we don't allow ourselves even a second of boredom anymore, because as soon as your mind starts to get bored, you pick up something and shove something in your face and alleviate that boredom. And I think that maybe with in the shower or driving or hiking, when there's nothing to do but just kind of stare and go, maybe that's where it comes. But it was an interesting thing, him talking about that.
That's where meditation comes in too.
I love that. That is so true. We don't let ourselves be bored.
I just
pick up Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then half the time you're just scrolling through and you're not even reading anything. It's just like, and
it's so bad for you. Oh.
And nobody stands in line anymore without looking at their cell phone. It's the easiest way not to make eye contact with anybody else. Just and nobody's looking at anything. They're just trying to avoid the others.
It's funny because after shows, when I sometimes sell posters, it's really awkward because people are just walking by and I have nothing on my phone, but I'm like, oh, I'm busy on my phone. It's such a good way to distract.
I've done that before and had it up to my phone faking, and the phone just rang into my ear. I'm like, sorry.
Oh, no. I've been with him and somebody was walking up and he was pretending to be on the phone because he didn't want to talk to them. And they were walked away and he still did, okay, I'll talk to you later. And went, oh, wait, what? Like, there was nobody there. There was nobody there. And he went, oh, wait. And dude had already walked away.
Yeah. You got to commit to the bit if you're going to do it.
And
so you committed.
Yes, you have to. You never know.
Yeah. I was like, well, what are you doing? He's gone. Why are you pretending that they're still there?
So when you, I know you go out a bunch with Christina P. How did you, when you actually met, how did you meet and how did you hook up and how did she, drag you along? How did that whole thing start?
Comedy Store?
This was at Flappers. Sometimes they just put you on shows, open, like small little set. So I just was fortunate enough to be on Christina's show, just doing a 7-minute set. And then it went really well. And she booked me to open for her for 2 more shows. And then from there,
all the time,
I became her official opener.
Yeah. Yeah. I love your presentation. I told you this because I actually got one of your posters in my house, hanging in my house. And you wrote, Raylan, you rock my socks. And I was like, that's a really cool thing to write on posters. So I think I might steal that from you and write it on all my,
oh my gosh,
design posters. But,
I'm so
didn't pretend to be
flattered.
on your phone when I came up to you, you were engaging and,
take this. None of that.
Oh shit, where were we talking about? I forgot where I was going.
Tom and Christina are out her touring.
Yeah. Okay. So the first time I heard you was there and you had done a presentation, like a PowerPoint presentation about the different generations, the Generation X and the new. Do you remember this? Was it a PowerPoint presentation on your podcast?
Wait, I did on the podcast. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, because what I was saying was I talked to you about it when I bought a poster. I'm sorry, I'm a little flustered. I'm a little nervous around comedians. But anyway, I loved that presentation you did. I thought it was hilarious. I actually listened to it once and then went back and watched it on YouTube because I wanted to hear and see.
Lynn, I am touched. I'm truly touched.
I want to know when you're going to do another presentation like that.
Okay, so I went back on her show a couple of weeks ago and I asked Nadav, that's the producer. I was like, all right, what presentation now? And he was like, I think we're good with presentations. And Christina was like, yeah, we'll just talk. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I was ready for my PowerPoint.
I really like
that's good to know. I'll say, the listeners are eager for another PowerPoint. They're asking for another one. What's crazy is so my whole take was like being the millennial that, could fill in moms on what's hip and cool. But I actually had to do so much research for these PowerPoints. I don't know what's hip and cool. So I was calling my young cousins, my friends. I truly had to do a lot of work for those PowerPoints because I actually don't know either what's going on.
Well, it seemed like you did. You pulled it off like you did.
Good.
And I love the TikTok bits you do too. It's just
thank you. Oh, I need you in my pocket and carry you around with me.
So when you're touring around, I would imagine it's a lot like being the opening band and touring around with somebody. Like probably half the gig is just being cool to travel with. Like, did you keep that in the back of your mind? Like when you first started going out with Christina, I don't know how close, do you guys just meet up at the gig or do you guys fly or travel together? How's that work? Because I would imagine the opener or whoever you're bringing along, and if you're going to do it a lot, you really want to get along with this person. And it goes a little bit beyond just being funny. You really have to be a good hang too.
I didn't know that was a requirement. And then Christina kept saying this is so fun. Oh, you're so fun. It's so fun to hang out with you. I was like, oh, okay, that's good. That's good.
Yes.
I'm happy that she likes hanging out with me. We have so much fun together. And we usually are on the same flight. So we'll meet at the airport, but she's always first class.
Yeah.
So she gets to hang out in the lounge area.
And you're in section C getting.
Yeah. But we're either at the same hotel or close by. So I'll go back to her hotel after shows and we'll just have drinks and gossip.
Right. And you're probably a little young. Have you did you go through that whole comedy condo bit ever where you're out on the road and having to sleep with a bunch of strangers?
So the only comedy condo I did was the first time I was at Zanys in Nashville, but it was just me. I had the whole condo to myself, and apparently it was a nice condo. I was told that this is one of the nicer comedy condos. So I've only had a good experience, but I've been told the stories of comedy condos, and
So have we, yeah. Stanhope has
I
a million
haven't
of them.
had to do that. And I know I'm being spoiled with Christina. She's definitely taking good care of me, because all my comedy friends that have done the road don't have as good of stories as I do.
Or better stories, but not as good of a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been
Exactly.
spoiled too with the hotel rooms. You went through
Oh, yes. Like
just crashing at people's houses.
when I first started in a band, what you did is you go play the show wherever you were, and then pre-cell phone days. And then you just, while you're playing, anybody got an apartment or a place to crash tonight? And there was always, it seemed like
I can't imagine that.
every
Just
place-
not knowing where you're going to sleep when you're it's 8 hours from home.
Yeah,
you
but it
know?
was a different time. Again, no cell phones. And it seemed like every place had a band house, not affiliated with any club, but the people in town that probably were in a band and had some huge flop house, or you'd end up sleeping on a floor with some weird girl and like 17 cats crawling all over you. It was all kind of sleeping in a van.
And like payphones, like having to call home with a payphone.
Oh my God. And no Uber.
Yeah, there was no calling home. You just called the club, but once you went, you were gone until you got back home.
Wow. See, this is true on the road living.
But it was
Yeah.
fun too, though. It was just
Yeah, I
fun.
bet,
You
I
don't
bet.
think about, you were literally,
It's still fun.
well,
to
it's still a
talk about.
blast, but back then and it's not any better or worse, because it's way easier to just look at your phone and have like we were pulling out road atlases and getting lost. So it's way
You
easier
have to
now.
say, as a guy, though, that seems easier than a girl having
Totally.
to sleep on strangers'
which
floors.
is weird. Well,
Yeah, yeah.
unless you're in a girl punk band, and that happened too. But to your point, we were talking to Kathleen Madigan about,
Oh yeah,
'cause she
she
came
was
up
young. She was like 20, 21
23, I think, maybe.
and sleeping in
Doing
these
the comedy condos.
condos with random dudes, and yeah,
Yeah. That's what Christina's told me too, that she's
she did that too.
oh yeah.
yeah,
Just horror stories.
right?
Yeah, but it's always
But
just
fun
filthy stuff.
stories.
Yeah,
Fun.
nobody's ever getting hurt or raped or
Yeah,
anything like that.
fun.
It's just like, it's disgusting. There was this or that. But
Yeah.
Maybe molested, but not raped.
yeah.
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
I made
All
that.
in good fun.
So how do you like Zanies here in town?
Oh, I love it. It's just a really good venue. I like that it's just big enough where you feel like it's with the upper level, you got the 2 stories, but still personal enough to feel like you're in an intimate location.
Yeah, I hate being
Okay.
up on that balcony though. As a patron watching the show, it's not as
Oh.
much fun being up there. I'm just
I
saying.
heard the first time I performed at Zanies, they called me on, or no, the host comes out and is like, "Hey, you guys," and then someone passed out in the upper balcony. And they said this happens a lot because people get drunk and hot. And she passed out and people are screaming and they're saying, "Call the ambulance." And no one knows what's going on. And the host goes, "Okay, and coming up next, Chase O'Donnell." And I came out to, who knows what's going on. I had no idea what was happening, and screams and this and that, and nobody's listening. And I had no idea what to do.
Did you just
went
dive
into-
in?
I dived in. I said, "Well, this is scary. Want to know what else is scary? Dating." Like, I just went straight in.
No crowd work, obviously.
No, just went straight into my material, and no one was listening because there was no acknowledgement. Nobody in the crowd actually knew what was going on. Everyone was just,
Yeah.
So that was one bad experience at Zanies, but a great story. I love that story because
yeah.
it's not
Did
every
you just
day.
get through it? Did you just get through your set? And
Yeah, and I got off stage like, "Oh my God, that was terrible," but I survived it.
Yeah, well, it's like we've talked before. Like the good stories are never of when you killed it. I mean, you got one, like Doug Stanhope says, you have one of those stories because everything else is less than the best time you went. But all the bad stuff, he's like, man, I used to take gigs just for the story. I knew it was going to be a disaster, but it was going to be a great story. So I'm going to go do it.
I agree. I feel like also I only hold on to the bad stories. Like there could be 100 great shows, but I'll only remember the bad show. And that's what I really.
Yeah. Like one time we had this guy tell us that we weren't good enough to be talking in between our songs, which doesn't make any sense. But
we all ignored it, but it really got to Ray.
I still remember it. It happened like 7 years ago.
That
doesn't make any sense. He should have said you're not good enough to play. You should keep talking. It doesn't. It
yeah.
Make any sense.
He should have liked what we were saying if he didn't like. But anyway, so how do you deal with hecklers like that?
So I haven't had a heckler that's been like, boo, you suck. Yeah. I've had shows though like that where nobody's paying attention. Like I've done a show and a table singing happy birthday and, you know, there just no one's listening.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just keep going. But with the comments like that, it's usually on like YouTube comments or Instagram comments. And I just don't read them anymore because I hold on. Again, there can be tons of really, really, really nice comments, but I'll only hold on to the mean one.
I don't know why we do that, but yeah.
So I just don't read them anymore because they hate me. And then it's not good for you to think that way. Yeah.
It's not good to want to kill yourself. It's just
turn off that phone and get bored for a while.
Yeah.
I had one person slide into my DMs recently. It was after Dr. Drew saying like, just like, oh, this is comedy today. This sucks. And so it was on and on and on. And I finally wrote back and I said, this is very mean. And I've learned that you're not supposed to write back.
Yeah.
Just block them because then he went on and on and on again. Mm-hmm. So I blocked him. And then he made a new account, same guy, because same picture, and did it again. I want to write back again and be like, oh, why I oughta, but it just, you just block. Yeah.
Well, you just let me know his name and I'll have him taken care of. Okay, Chase?
Okay.
Well, I think it is. All they're trying to do is hook somebody. And as soon as you respond, they're like, oh.
That's what I was, once I did that, I was like, oh, okay. They wanted me to respond.
We'll get the Hells Angels to scare him into getting off Instagram altogether.
And I think they should only be fair that if you do something like that, you should be able to like click on their picture and see like them in their real life to really know who is saying it, you know, because it could be some 17-year-old kid in his mom's bedroom.
Like an 8-year-old kid, 9-year-old kid, you know?
Yeah, probably. They can't spell and...
Yeah, or like some really fat-year-old, 65-year-old man that's
fat-year-old.
I like that. I'm glad you didn't let her slide on that. That's usually my job. Well done, Chase.
Okay, Chase. I've asked other comedians this, so don't get mad at me. But what if I bleached my hair blonde and I learned your sets and I went out and I did a Chase O'Donnell cover stand-up act? How would you feel about that? What are your thoughts on that? Because people do that with Musical.ly all the time. But there's not really
the Chase tribute act.
Okay, if it was you doing it, I would be honored. I'd be like, oh my God, I've made it.
Yeah, well, that's ridiculous. But let's just say somebody in general.
If you didn't really know me and I was just like, I like her and I want to be just like her and I'm going to do this.
Hold on. My favorite part, we got to go back to where you saying how we feel like we know them. You just said, I mean, if you didn't really know me, Chase. Oh, yeah, we go.
Here's another thing. I feel like I know you guys because I watch you watch your podcast and listen to you a lot. So then I realize you don't really know me, but it feels like you do.
And we had to get over the thing of we both watch podcasts a lot and it's this
just
view
like this
that we're watching. So half the time we're doing them, we're kind of like, just watching the episode roll along. So we're getting better.
Funny. No, I feel the same way. I've also been listening to your podcast, so I feel like I know you guys.
Okay.
Okay. I think
random blonde hair.
Yeah, random brown haired girl that bleached. You can be like, oh my gosh, she totally.
I would be upset if she did all my stuff and then got super successful.
Right.
And made tons of money off of it. And then I got and I was over here just, I'm just giving her my material. But if she was just like, you know, doing it at her high school talent show and she wasn't making profit off of it, but she just was a big fan, I'd be flattered. But if she started making money off of it, then I think I'd.
Yeah. Well, like, you know, people have Joan Jett tribute bands and they make a lot of money doing that. No, they don't make Joan Jett money because she wrote the fucking songs, but.
Yeah, you're right. No, there's Kiss cover bands. There's all these cover bands.
Especially here in Nashville.
So that one person show I did in college, it's on YouTube. And I will get reached out to every year. A few people will reach out and ask if they can do my one person show. And I've started asking for money for it because I used to just be like, sure. And now it's enough that people like, it's my show. It's a similar question. I've started asking for money.
I'm good.
And then I'll send them the script and the music.
Yeah.
What was the name of the show? We should say that.
Yeah. What's the name of your one?
It's a best one person show ever.
Oh,
is what it's called. Yeah.
Very aptly titled.
Yeah. I like that. I have a shirt that says we're America's favorite musical group. It reminds me of that. Oh God, I relate to you so much. I like you so much, Chase. What?
Ditto.
I even had a girl duo that I did called That was, we had brown hair. We looked alike. Yours is way better than what we did, but
no, that's amazing.
I feel like we're the same person sometimes.
So exciting.
Other questions? I just want to gush on you because I like you so much.
So what do you got coming up?
Yeah, what's going on now?
I am fully on tour because as you guys know, venues, you know, are slowly opening back up. It seems like we're back. So starting in June through January, I have dates. So the rest of the year will be touring and practicing and doing the grind. And then I was working on Curb Your Enthusiasm and that just ended. So,
that's one of the greatest shows of all time.
Truly.
Oh my God.
I'm so lucky that I got to work on that. But that's done. So all of a sudden I have free time and I'm excited. I'm going to make like video content and just do the things that I've been wanting to do, but haven't had time to. I want to do a lot of like writing.
Sweet. I do got to ask before we get out of here. How did the Curb gig come about?
Yeah. How'd you get that gig?
Oh, I applied for it about 2 years ago. Wait, sorry. My phone's about to ring. Decline. Okay. 2018, I interviewed for it just to be a PA. And then, so I worked on season 10 and then season 11 started filming. It came back in the middle of the pandemic and they knew that I was on to comedy and not doing PA work anymore, but they called me and they're like, is there any chance? And I was like, actually, there is nothing going on in the world.
My schedule has just opened up.
I am wide open. And I'm actually really happy I went back because doing another year with them it just feels now like I'm part of the family. And Jeff Garlin asked me to open for him. So I'll be opening for him in the fall and just really good connections. And they put me on the show and it was a good.
I was about to say, besides the connections, just getting to sit there and watch them work must have been fantastic.
Oh my God. I've learned
especially you coming from the improv school kind of. It had
I just studied everything they did and I got to just like be a backseat, just kind of watch everything and then meet the most like Bill Hader last week. We hung out just like it's the coolest people that were there all the time. So I'm really happy that I did that.
Is it as much fun working there as it seems like it would be?
Yes, except the hours because it's production. Ugh. It's like 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. Like that's what I mean by I finally have time opened up because it was 16-hour days. And then on the weekends I was going with Christina, and I haven't had an ounce of balance in my life. So I'm excited to sleep in and give myself, the things that I need to just take care of myself.
Good for you.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you figured it out. I don't know if you just came by it naturally or figured it out, but you figured out that if you're not a dick and work your way through this, that just you can tell just all these stories you're telling, you're funny and you're a great hang. And if you get those two things, you're going to, you know what I mean? Nobody wants to work around an asshole unless he's a genius.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool to hear, because I think a lot of people think that in order to make it, you have to be like,
that's one way,
Yeah. And there are those people. So it's nice to hear that just being nice can help out.
Yeah. Well, it seems to be working well for you. So I would say keep that up.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chase, for doing this with us. It's my favorite part of today and this whole week. Thank you.
Me too.
Yes. Thanks so much for coming on. Next time you're in Nashville, I'm going to have to check you out live.
Yeah.
Oh, I will let you know. I'm going to have to check you guys out. Are you doing any shows in California?
Possibly in Sacramento, though. I don't know how. That's pretty far from you.
It's like 6 hours, but I have family up there.
It's closer than it is to us. So
I can make a trip out of it.
Yeah. Well, whenever we're playing close to you, I'll reach out and be like,
please do.
Yeah, maybe we'll be playing in the same town elsewhere when you're doing comedy. We can hook it up.
Okay. We'll just be in touch with our schedules.
There you go. Well,
Thanks, Chase.
We've got our new best friend. Thanks again, Chase.
Yay. Thank you.
Bye.
Chase O'Donnell is my favorite comedian.
She was great. It was fun talking to her. It's always fun hearing people that are on the coming up and the ones that have been there forever. So it's always interesting to hear that stuff.
She's going to be huge. I just know it. And she also kind of sounds like my Aunt Amy.
She does when she talks. We both talk to her about that. Anyway, thanks for checking this episode out. We'll have another great one out next week. So tune in then. Share, rate, subscribe, all that, whatever they say. And
tell your friends. Don't name your baby penguin. Don't be an asshole.
I know your mama's name.
Free Britney. Enjoy your groceries.